Although Revolver remains one of the Beatles' most celebrated albums, its creation wasn't without turmoil. One track in particular, She Said, triggered so much tension that Paul McCartney stormed out of the studio before the recording was finished. The song, introduced by John Lennon, was inspired by a surreal conversation he'd had during a 1965 acid trip with George Harrison, Ringo Starr, and other musicians like Roger McGuinn, David Crosby, and Peter Fonda. It was during that experience that Fonda, recalling a traumatic event from his youth where he was revived after accidentally shooting himself, reportedly said he knew what it felt like to be dead. That statement left a deep impression on Lennon and eventually formed the basis for the song's haunting lyrics. As the band attempted to work the song into the rest of Revolver, McCartney grew increasingly frustrated. He later admitted that tensions ran high, and after a heated exchange with the others, he walked out, leaving Harrison to handle the bass parts. While the song's unsettling chorus captured the psychedelic and existential tone Lennon was aiming for, the creative process behind it clearly tested the band's unity. Many fans have speculated that McCartney's discomfort wasn't just about the arrangement, but also his initial reluctance to join the others in experimenting with LSD. At the time, he was the last member of the group to try the drug. He later reflected that Lennon and Harrison had encouraged him to experience it, so he could relate to them on the same creative wavelength. However, McCartney was hesitant, describing himself as more conservative by nature and worried that LSD might alter him permanently. When he eventually gave in and took the drug alongside Lennon, the experience left him disturbed. What frightened him most was the sensation of losing control. The fact that once the trip began, it couldn't be turned off at will, even when he desperately wanted it to end. Despite the tension surrounding She Said, the album Revolver became a massive success upon release in 1966. It sold over 5 million copies in the United States and stayed on the UK album chart for 34 weeks, including 7 weeks in the #1 spot. Today, Revolver is often ranked among the greatest albums in music history, with many fans even placing it above Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Alongside the controversial track, the album also delivered timeless classics like Eleanor Rigby, Yellow Submarine, Here, There, and Everywhere, and Tomorrow Never Knows. But behind the brilliance of its music was a band beginning to fracture, balancing artistic ambition with personal conflict, and leaving behind a legacy shaped as much by tension as by talent.